All right, so basically I'm taking off the old fuel line. There's two different sizes of fuel line, a million adapters in between all the line. So that's gotta come apart because that's not correct at all. Okay, so I just pulled this fuel line all the way up. It goes to what I believe is a fuel pump down here, and there's like a piece of metal here, some kind of metal line. I wonder if I have enough line to just do the whole length of this. I could go from all the way up here, all the way underneath. Oh yeah, I have plenty. So when the fuel tank is on the back here, the little fuel shut off, the little elbow out of the bottom of the fuel tank is about right here. Even with the fenders on, you can see it. You can stick your hand under there and shut the fuel off when the whole tractor's all put together. So basically, I just ran that fuel line along the side of this frame, and it's gonna go right into the bottom of the fuel tank. And then obviously, you leave yourself enough fuel line that you can cut it to length. Then you know what? I keep having troubles holding my light, and I bought this a while back and I never even opened it, so it's about time I get this thing out. I've heard good things about them. This is the Icon 800 lumen rechargeable light bar, and I've heard it has a heck of a magnet on it, so it's kind of what sold me. It's got a Type-C charger, which pretty much all Androids have those, the newer ones, and I think even Apple's starting to use USB-C because it's so great. So that's cool. I can charge this anywhere in the house with all my cell phone chargers. Sweet. At least it's got a little bit of a charge right now. I don't know how full it is, but okay. Stick this thing. Oh yeah, that's a really good magnet. Wow. There. Now I just need to measure out how much of this fuel line I want. Obviously I want to leave myself a little bit of wiggle room. I'm just going to say right here, right where my thumb is. There we go. It's amazing how easy new fuel line stretches to get onto things, and then old line is extremely difficult. Tighten this thing just a little bit more. There we go. Okay. Wow, this thing's got an amazing magnet on it. I mean, you really got to pull on it. Awesome. Okay, I'll put my new fuel cap on there. This one's not only like old and dry rotted and the hole's wide open and everything, but it's actually cracked. So I don't know if the float in this thing, I would think this is the correct length for that float. So if it works, that's a bonus, I guess. Anyway. So I've just been going around and zip tying a bunch of different things. Fuel line is good. I zip tied this hydraulic line. That way, for whatever reason, if it wants to move, it can't touch that drive shaft, or that shaft, I mean. The other line is fine. I put a bunch of tiny little zip ties on some of the wiring here. I zip tied the red cable that's between the starter and the solenoid. Zip tied that kind of out of the way. I've just been kind of looking this thing over and finding small things that need to be done. I did get a gasket for that breather. I need to stick that on. But while I was up here looking at this, I see that the whole air cleaner assembly is a little bit loose, and when I try to tighten it, it just spins that rod. So there's actually a nut down there that if I throw a 7/16 on there, I can tighten this down. So I gotta tighten that down. All right, so I broke the old gasket when I took the breather off because this breather was filthy and I wanted to see if it was actually breathing. I mentioned in another video on this machine that it has excessive crankcase pressure sometimes, and that's why I wanted to take a look at the breather. If the breather is clogged and the air filter is clogged, you're gonna have crankcase pressure issues. Got this cheap gasket, even though I can make one now since I have gasket material, but put this on there. Now I'm pretty sure there's some sort of material that's supposed to be inside of this, but I'm not gonna worry about that right now. 7/16 here. Sweet. Okay, so I was messing around with this tie rod for a bit because I was really confused. This is my fault because I'm stupid. This rod, one end is left-hand thread and the other end is right-hand thread. So the two new tie rod ends I just bought from China are both right-hand, and I need one that's left-hand. So I'm gonna have to order a left-hand tie rod end, and then I should be able to have two brand new tie rod ends on this. But to be honest with you, even these new tie rod ends from China have kind of the same amount of play that the ones that are already on the machine have. So it kind of doesn't matter. And to be honest with you, this steering is so loosey-goose anyway that I really don't think these new tie rod ends are really going to help much. These mounts down here for what I assume is the deck are driving me nuts, and I'm not going to use the mowing deck, so I'm taking these mounts off. So I've been messing around with the two switches that are on the dash. I have what obviously looks to be a light switch because it says light underneath. And then there's a blue light on top of that. I don't know if that's stock or not, but earlier I had some test leads hooked up to this. I was trying to figure out if it even worked. It does light up. It lights up blue. So I'm not even really sure if these work or not. So I've been messing around with them. I got a little setup thing here, and I'm using one of the headlights as a test subject, which, just to confirm, it does work. So I'm gonna go grab some switches and I'm gonna test them up here. I'm gonna start by taking the light switch out. So I don't know a whole lot about electric, so a lot of this is experimenting. I bought this a while back from Harbor Freight, just a bunch of electrical clips so you can make your own leads or do whatever. Now these don't need to be very long. I'd say like that, maybe. Technically, I don't need a negative right now. Enough. Okay, we'll just go ahead, make sure that my new homemade clips work. Did I really mess that up? I seriously have no idea why this wouldn't work, but it works now. So I'm gonna test my new ones that I just made. Okay, they're good then. So what I'm doing is I think I can use this switch to see whether or not the switch works. It was installed in the tractor like this. This is the hood, these are the steer tires. It was installed like that. So I wonder, they're obviously both hot wires. This is just testing. You know what? Just in case. All right. Okay, nothing. Now, if I pull this up, which is very hard to do, it's not a very good switch, that should be on, so these should be connected. So if I touch this to that, it should light up, and it does. Now earlier when I was testing this switch in the tractor, I pretty much like melted all 4 ends of this wire to these alligator clips, which obviously it started smoking, so I pulled them off right away. They were pretty warm to the touch. Didn't destroy these, but it was, I mean, it was smoking, all 4 of them. Each end of the positive lead and each end of the negative lead were smoking. So, okay, push this down, which means off. That breaks the circuit, so nothing works. So 2 hot wires go to a switch, and then the system is grounded out. Well, the lights would be grounded out. That's how that circuit is created. Okay. Yeah, and every one of these little sockets here does have a ground, so that makes sense. They would be grounded off on the grill or on the frame up front, and then you'd run 2 hot wires to the switch. When you pull the switch out, in this case, it connects these two, creates a circuit. When you push it in, it kills the circuit. So, okay. Now, I'm sure it's probably hard to see, but this little blue switch right here has been bothering me because I was trying to test and see if it works because I wanted to utilize it, because I got some lights, aftermarket lights for this thing, and I want to use an existing switch to turn the lights on and off. So I was testing these to see whether or not these switches worked, which obviously we know that other one does. But I thought this light here was kind of cool because it's a, you know, switch it on and off kind of. That other one, that it pulls really hard. You have to pull on it really hard, and it's old. And so I'm gonna see if this works. I would much rather use this. Now this one, there's 3 prongs instead of 2. I'm assuming the middle one is for the backlight, because this switch does have lights inside of it. It lights the switch up blue when it's supposed to be on. So I guess we'll hook up an alligator there, hot wire there, hot wire there. Switch is technically off, so there should be no light. There's not. So there's no light. And the switch is in the off position. Now let's turn it on. Now when I touch this to that post, it should turn that light bulb on. But it isn't. Flip this to on. Now, let's see if it works. It does not. It does not work. I think this switch is defective, but I don't know if flipping it would do anything. I don't know much about electric stuff. Flip this to the on. Nothing. Okay. What about the center one? Okay, the light came on. I think that's the 12 volt, you know, 12 volt power that illuminates this little button, or this little switch. So when you create a circuit, it pretty much just comes on. But the switch itself is not working. Nothing. So I think the switch is junk. I'm just mocking up some homemade leads right now with a heavier gauge wire, just for test purposes. So I went to Harbor Freight and I bought these. These are Hallmaster 12 volt floodlights. Basically just bright lights you can stick on whatever. I'm going to basically use these as headlights on the front of the John Deere. They're adjustable, and these are going to be 1,000 times brighter than the headlights that were on it in the first place. I really don't feel like doing all the work of getting these to work properly only to have a tiny little bit of light come out of the front of the tractor. So I'm gonna hook these up, have them, you know, I'm gonna make some type of thing to mount them to, and then they're gonna be adjustable. You can swivel them or tilt them up or down, and that'll be really cool. So what I want to do is mock up on my bench how I would do it on the tractor. So since we do know that this light switch works, and I'm assuming this is probably the original light switch that the machine came with, I kind of want to use it. It's kind of cool. Even though it's very, very hard to get it to pull out, it pushes in fine, but I guess I'll just utilize it until it quits working, and then I'll update to a newer switch. But I want to mock this all up because I'm not good at doing anything that's electric related. So I kind of want to make sure that my idea works before I even start doing stuff on the tractor. I hope these come with mounts. Yep, they did. Sweet. Now I did a set of these lights on a red Sears garden tractor over a year ago. And even though it was a small thing, I thought it was really cool because I've never been good with lights. Here's a weird thing. How am I supposed to hook that up? It's got its own little socket thingy. Well, that's stupid. I wonder if Harbor Freight has the opposing hookup for that. I'm gonna have to look that up. Okay, so I didn't do any homework before I bought these lights. I honestly thought this would have a negative wire and a hot wire, or a positive wire. Instead, it has what's called a DT style wiring harness, which there's just 2 prongs in there and a little plastic thingy. And you have to get a wiring harness for this, which kind of makes me mad. This was only like 10 bucks. So I think I'm just gonna cut this and see if I can't just continue doing what I was gonna do. There's no reason I shouldn't be able to just, yeah, they're in there. I was gonna say, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to just wire this up the old-fashioned way. I don't know why they have to get fancy nowadays. The wiring harness comes complete with, you know, a switch and a fuse and all that crap. It's probably a legal thing, to be honest with you. You don't want people wiring their own stuff up with their product and then having a fire and they burn down their brand new $10,000 four-wheeler. Which, that's stupid. That's on the person who bought the lights, not the light company. This is kind of a thick wire. I wonder. I bought these a while back. These are now on clearance at Harbor Freight for like $5. See if these might work. Yep. There we go. Now we can see if this light will work. Cool. That looks decently bright. Lights up the garage pretty good, so alright, so if anybody wants any of these Hallmaster 12-volt lights from Harbor Freight, like I said, they were like 10 bucks. And you don't have to use the stupid specialty connector. See, that's how they make money off of you. They sell them with this connector on it. Then they sell a wiring harness for a minimum of $29.99. Just cut it off. Toss it away. Find the 2 normal wires in there and just wire it up the old-fashioned way. And I I think I'm gonna get a different switch here. This is a cool switch or whatever since it was original. I'll hold on to it. I'll just add it to the rest of my John Deere parts that I'm not getting rid of for some reason. Okay, so I ended up getting 2 more of these 12 volt floodlights. Actually, I'd gotten one, and then I realized that it would bother me if I only had 1 light in the back, so I had to get 2. That way I have 2 in the front, 2 in the back. So I haven't done anything with the lights yet, but I was just looking around because I was trying to think of how I wanted to mount all these. And I grabbed, some random pieces of iron thinking maybe I'd fabricate something or whatever. But what I found out was in the back here, there's 2 holes. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what they're for. I don't know if this thing already had lights on it at some point. I don't know. But anyway, I realized I don't even have to drill anything. This light will actually slip right in there, cinch that down real tight, get the light, situated where you want it, and then the wire here can go through the other hole. So it's almost like it's meant to be, really. So that's really nice that the back is going to be somewhat easy. And I can actually wire this all together so then when I turn the lights on, the red lights come on as well. And honestly, it's not a huge deal. Those lights don't mean much to me. I just think it would be cool if they did work. So I can kind of knock them all out together since all the electrical is going to be in the same spot on the back. So then I was thinking about the front, wondering how I was going to mount these lights and everything. And then I realized that this grill, I was kind of just mocking this grill up on the front of the machine and looking at the sheet metal and everything. I think that the side of this grill is not going to be obstructed by anything. And there's already a couple holes here, and I can't really remember what those are for, if they were even used at all. I don't know. But I'm thinking before I even put this grill on there, I'm gonna drill these holes out just a little bit more. Probably both of them, to be honest with you, because if I want to move the light up or down, depending on what the deal with the hood is or whatever, then I can do that. So I really just have to mount these sideways. Obviously it'd be like that once the grill is on and everything, but I can basically just mount these lights on the side of this grill and I don't have to make anything. I don't have to fabricate nothing. And so that is pretty cool because I kind of want to hold on to my stash of metal here for another day. So I'm gonna start kind of putting things together here. Alright, so I have the holes drilled. Like I said, I did the top ones and the bottom ones in case I need to move the light up or down depending on the hood situation. It's kind of nice the holes are already there, so I didn't have to feel bad about putting holes in this since it's, John Deere or whatever. But if I have to drill another hole, then so be it. This grill is actually beat up pretty bad already. It's missing a whole chunk of metal right here, so the only mounting point is right there. See, it's missing this part right here. That came off, and I actually looked around for it, wondering if maybe I had it. I haven't seen it. If I really wanted to, I might be able to mock up some sort of thing with my welder, and even though this is thin, try to weld that in there, tack it in there, and then fill the rest with weld. Kind of try to copy what the other side has, maybe even use a larger washer, but Honestly, right now I'm not that concerned about that, even though you would think it would be loose. It's I don't know, once you get everything together maybe it won't be loose, but for now I kind of just want to get the lights done, get a bunch of other stuff done. Anyway, that might be a later thing. I got the lights laid out exactly how they're going to go on. These are the front lights, off to the side obviously, and then these are the rear lights facing the other direction. Got that all laid out, got my fuse, my switch. Before I start installing the rear lights, I'm actually gonna take my test leads and I'm gonna see if any of these red lights work. I'm glad I tested that instead of wiring all that up. So I'm gonna get a new set of rear lights and then go from there. All right, I'm gonna get this grill put on. It's not gonna look the prettiest, but okay, so this was a major pain, but I think I got them. The only problem that I've seen so far is this exhaust pipe. It dumps the exhaust right behind this light, and that's not good, but I think that I have a solution to that, which I will look into later. But for now, I'm just gonna continue on with these lights. Pretty sweet. Like I said, I can adjust these. I can twist them, I can do this, I can do whatever. Which I probably won't do that until all the wiring is done. That way I can point these lights where I want them to be and then tighten them down. Actually, these have kind of a cool advantage over the lights on this case, because these headlights, they're decently bright, but they only point in one direction, way far off in front of you, not directly in front, like not down towards the ground in front of you. Then of course this machine does have these lights that are right here. and they're bright. But none of these lights on this case really goes that far in front of the machine, whereas these can be adjusted to go far. And for whatever reason, I was just thinking if I really wanted to, I could actually put another set of lights underneath, and I could have 2 of them pointed way out front and 2 of them pointed down towards the ground in front of the machine. And you'd have a lot of visibility at night that way. Maybe a later project, I don't know. But yeah, I gotta get these wired up. And then I also have to make sure that the hood goes on here okay. And then there's a piece of sheet metal that goes over this muffler. And like I said, it dumps the exhaust right out on the back of this light. And yeah, it has cooling fins on it, but I would assume this heat from this exhaust would probably damage this light. So what I was thinking is I could maybe get some sort of pipe that I can slide over this, maybe cut this curved part off, and then maybe have it come down or something, or you know. As long as you direct the actual exhaust away from the light, it'll be fine. So now I'm gonna put the lights on the back. And a little update on these red lights here. I'm just gonna have to order new ones. I found some LEDs on eBay that were like 30-35 bucks. I'm gonna order them at some point, but right now I don't feel like spending that much money on a couple little red lights that I really don't care that much about. I was really hoping I could just get the lights I have now to work. Earlier today I tried everything. I found a bulb that worked, tried it in every socket, made adjustments, made sure all the contacts were working. I used my trouble light, tested everything on these receptacles here, and there's something going on besides the light bulbs. So like the sockets aren't working, and I'm not gonna worry about finding new internals for these. I just was hoping that they would work on their own. So I did find these light bulbs. A 2-pack is $8, so $16 for 4 light bulbs, when some of these sockets don't even work. So it's stupid. Might as well just get a set of LEDs and be done with it and not have to worry about light bulbs. So I am so glad I did not spend 30 or 35 bucks for a set of taillights for this. I found these completely by accident at Harbor Freight for $6, $5.99 for a 2-pack. 12 volt, red, same shape and everything. Or at least very close. I was actually going to Harbor Freight to get marker lights for my trailer. I ended up settling on these, just 3 of these little marker lights on the back of my trailer, but I saw these. So I bought 2 packs of them, 12 bucks for 4. You can't beat that. I am so glad I didn't spend 30 or 35 bucks on eBay. Now I can actually do all the wiring on the back of the tractor all at once. You can see on the back it's got 2 holes. Oh my gosh, I think that's gonna line up. Okay, so the ground is where you put the little tiny bolts in. So I need to find bolts that will make contact with that. And then on the other side of the bolt, when I stick it in there, I need to most likely, I don't know how well grounded out this fender is gonna be. I was thinking about that earlier, which there's ways to test that. But I might need to put a little eye connector or a ring fitting or ring connector back there to provide the ground. So this is exactly why I buy all these little varieties of random little bolts. And let's see, Okay, so off camera, I just ran 2 red wires and 1 black wire down next to the steering column underneath the tractor, along the frame, and then out the back here. So I know that I can ground out all these lights to the body or to the frame back here. My problem with that is it's greasy, it gets dirty, it has paint on it, yada yada. I don't want to have ground problems because, you know, of the surface of this thing. So it's not that hard just to run 5-6 feet of black wire and ground all these out directly to the battery, so then there's no ground issues. That's something I've always done. I guess maybe it's just a personal preference thing. Now before I go any farther, I'm going to test all this, make sure that it works. Like I said, I am not good with electrical, so. Alright. Okay. And this one should be a little bit easier to see. Sweet. Awesome. All right, now work on the fronts. I think I have it mocked up enough. I'll do the same thing I did with the back, just make sure that it works. Awesome. All right, now the really time-consuming part is going through and zip tying everything really nice and keeping it out of the way of anything that moves, anything that could cut it, pinch it, whatever, melt it. I already did a lot of zip tying down here to try to keep it looking somewhat decent. And then I got to get the switches installed, and most likely I'll have to drill another hole in this dash because I'm going to have 1 switch for the rear floodlights, 1 switch for the front headlights, and 1 switch for the rear red tail lights. So I'm going to have 3 switches. Right now I only have 2, so I need to get another one. Alright, so I went and I picked up a 3rd toggle switch. So I have 3 toggle switches, and then I got some extra splice connectors. Alright, how do we do this? All right, I'm almost done. I just gotta stick these wires on. All right, if I did this right, I put the most important light switch down at the bottom, which is the front ones. So if I flip this, they should come on. Awesome. Same thing. I put the floodlights on this switch that I'm going to flip, so it should be correct. Sweet. And then this should be the tail lights. Awesome. Now all I really have to do is adjust all 4 of these floodlights. And I do have some more zip ties to put on. I forgot that this is driving me insane because that's how this was when I first bought this tractor. There were wires across this. Can't stand that. It's got to be hidden. Okay, so off camera, I fixed my fuel leak that I had down here that I noticed while I was doing electrical. All I had to do was tighten the clamps down a little bit, and that was it. So I threw a little heavy-duty paper towel under there. I'm going to leave it there for a day or so, see if it drips at all. But in the few hours it's been there, I haven't seen anything, so I think it's good. So I was waiting in the mail for a new hydraulic filter. It's part number AM39653. I got that number off of the filter that's currently on it. So I need to drain the fluid out of this thing and then put the new filter on and put some new fluid in it. And while it's draining, I am gonna try to start putting the hood stuff back on. At least the hood itself, not necessarily the shroud or the sheet metal yet, because I think I might be doing something with the exhaust, because I can't have that dumping exhaust heat right on the backside of this $10 light. So it's gonna fry that thing. So I might cut this and then put an elbow on it, or do something different. So let's get this fluid changed. I'm gonna let this drain out. I have no idea how much is actually in the system right now, or even what it holds. I should probably look that up. I could have sworn it said it took like 5 or 6 quarts, so about 1.5 gallons, which I have plenty of hydraulic trans oil, or trans hydraulic, but I'm just gonna let that drip out of there, so I'll get working on the hood. This has been draining for a while, so it's not really dripping anymore. I'm gonna take the filter off. I don't think there's much fluid in the system. I think there's way less than there's supposed to be. Unless I read the wrong capacity online, but brake clean. I'm gonna put some fluid in this. I wonder if you're supposed to do that. I guess it is sideways. Overdid that. Oh well. Huh. That's surprising. It was full. Hand tight, and then that ought to be good. I think when I put this on, the last time I put this on, I think I had one of these kind of goofy because I think it was leaking. These are just flare fittings. I'm assuming JIC, 37-degree flare, I think. I don't know. So obviously you don't dope it or tape it or anything, so. Okay, so I need a 1 inch for these, and wonder if these need to be tightened at all. Maybe those were leaking, I don't know. A little bit loose. Maybe that's what was leaking. I think that'll work. Okay. So this drain pan only had that much hydraulic oil in it. This is a 1 gallon jug. Not exactly sure where the 1 gallon mark is. It's not really marked on there, but I did look up my model of John Deere tractor 317. It said 5 quarts of trans hydraulic oil. So I don't think 5 quarts came out of it, so it was low on oil anyway. I don't know how much is in the hydraulic lines still, but basically I just need to refill it. There's also a little tube here where once it gets to where it's supposed to be, I think on the internet people said that when this is half full, this little sight thing here, when it's at half, that means that your hydraulic trans oil is full. So, and it was not up there when I emptied the oil out of the system, so it wasn't really full anyway. No gas leaks, so that's good. I can take this out of there. Got that all fixed. But anyway, I gotta refill the system. It's a major pain. Apparently you just use this, so it takes a while to get that much into the system, and I'm sure I'll probably have to run it, cycle some of the fluid through. And by the way, instead of using a 5 gallon pail, I went and grabbed one of my 2 gallon jugs of the same stuff. That way it's a little bit easier to run this little hand pump and fill it up. All right, well, this thing is starting to shape up a little bit, getting it back together. After putting the new trans hydraulic fluid in there, I ran it a little bit, added a little bit more, ran it again, as you saw. I also threw the plow on there, wondering, you know, the main use of this machine is going to be having the plow on there, and that plow, in a small way, adds a little bit of capacity to the whole system. So threw that on there, ran it for a bit, as you saw. Seems to work pretty good. As far as the transmission kind of getting the bubbles worked out, or however that works as far as bleeding the system, I noticed the transmission is starting to get better. Obviously going back and forth in this garage is not going to do a whole lot for it. I really should, you know, take this thing actually for a drive and make the transmission turn for a good while to, you know, get warmed up, get all the fluids moved through, whatever. Reverse is really slow right now, which, you know, I kind of wasn't running at full throttle anyway, so it's not going to be super fast, but reverse is definitely seems really slow. So I hope that's not some sort of precursor to me messing something up in the rear end, you know, where there's fluid restriction going to the rear end, or going to reverse, I guess. It could also possibly be something to do with the lever too. I mean, I don't know. I really didn't change anything with the lever. Underneath of this fender, there is a thing that I hooked up that when you run this lever, it does move a little thing on the rear end. So I could always check that, see if that's not going back as far as it should be. I don't know. Maybe some of my wiring is impeding it. I have no idea. I wonder if my wiring even works still. Yeah, the rears are good. Fronts are good. So none of the wiring is busted. So hopefully, you know, nothing's catching on to all the movable parts for the reverse and forward. But yeah, and then another thing I noticed right away, now that this plow is on there, and this plow is not light, it's got some good weight to it, and now that that plow is on there, there's even more weight on the front axle, on the front tires. It is very hard to turn. And I noticed when in one of the earlier videos on this project, back when I was redoing the electrical right here, I had all this kind of ripped out, and while I was in there, you know, wiring up the harness and cleaning it up a little bit, I did tighten some stuff for the steering. And after I did that and kind of threw everything back together, I was thinking to myself, I hope I didn't just over tighten the steering and make it even harder to turn. So I hope I didn't do that. But if that's the case, it's not the end of the world. I'd have to cut a bunch of zip ties, get the battery out, get this thing out, and then there's a tray there that just has 2 bolts on each side. You got to remove the tray, and then you have pretty good access to all the bolts for the steering. And then that comes out the side. There's a shaft. This right here is loose. Well, at least it was. It's got some play. It's got some play right here. It's got play right here. I did get a set of tie rod ends, but I messed up and I got 2 right-hand thread. So you need a right-hand thread and a left-hand thread. I didn't know that. So right now I only have 1 new tie rod in, and then, you know, the other one, which is also loose, is still in there. But aside from stuff being loose, it is incredibly hard to turn the wheel. So I think I may have over-tightened something. So that's something I gotta look into. And then of course, you know, when you're moving and you got some inertia, it makes it easier to turn the wheel. You can't just expect this thing to turn really good where it's sitting. It's incredibly, hear that? That's not good at all. So I must over tighten something. So, but this has been a long video already. I have no idea how many videos in this series I'm gonna have because I'm filming it all at once, but I'm gonna end this portion of the series right now as this thing's getting back together. We'll have another video coming up looking back into the steering, doing some mods, maybe a new seat, getting the sheet metal back on. There's a whole bunch of different things I need to do. I also want to get this thing out of this garage. Want to do as much as I can, get it on my trailer, take it back to where my equipment is stored, and I want to bring my case 646 back here really bad. I want to get going on that project. Maybe even move this case 220 over there as well so I have more room in here. But yeah, project is doing good. I'm looking forward to using this thing. I think it'll be a real workhorse once all the little bugs get worked out. Anyway, if you've been watching this series, I sure appreciate it. Make sure to go back and watch all the other videos I have on this. I'll have them in chronological order in a playlist on my channel if you want to watch it from the get-go. But like always, if you haven't already, please subscribe, and thank you so much for watching.